Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, so, hi. I'm super excited to be here and share some of my story so that you'll know some of the things that I went through to get here. And then I also want to give you some gifts that I learned along the way so that you can hopefully, if you haven't already discovered some of these things, you can take that away today. So I'll start with my story. I just had a normal childhood with 2 parents and 3 sisters. And when I was 17, my family moved to England. I stayed there. They came home. And I stayed there for 5 years. And during that time, I did 2 things. One, I went to school and I learned how to program. And the second thing I did was get into a band. And so I was in a rock band for 5 years while I was in England, and we recorded an album. And I have to share just a little bit about that. I was 8 months pregnant when we recorded the album. It was so hard to get the vocal out, and I played a recorder on it, and we had to make a loop tape, and that was back in the day when it was tape, and so they actually taped the tape together and made a loop. It's like so much has changed since then. No more tape, right? All digital. So anyway, from there I came back home, and while I was there I had my first child at the age of 18. She is now 44. Oh, that gives my age away. Anyway, oops. Then I came home and I had another son, and I got into IT tech, and I spent a lot of time learning computers and learning how to program, and got really good at it. That happened to be really my forte, and it's also where in my comfort zone is. If you want to talk tech to me, I'm good to talk tech, and I like to talk tech because I know tech. And getting out of your comfort zone is something else that's really important, so I want to share that with you too. But after being in tech for 20 years as a consultant, there was something inside of me that said there was something new that I needed to do. I didn't know what it was. And I started reaching out to personal development groups, and the one that I ended up in was teaching people how to channel. And so, wow, okay, that sounded really interesting and something I wanted to learn how to do. So I went through that class for a year, and I learned how to channel my guides, and it was really great to know that, And yet, even though I learned that, and I was actually advertising myself as a channel, and I did a few readings here and there, it wasn't it. It wasn't the thing for me. And so I was still searching, and I searched, and I read a lot of books, and I was just searching for what was the next thing. 10 years went by from 1987 when I learned to channel, and another 10 years before I discovered coaching. And coaching, it popped up on my computer. Of course I was at my computer. It popped up on my computer, and it was about coaching, and I went, this is it. I know this is it. I've got to do this. So I was called to coach. And what I discovered in coaching is that coaching is about helping people to go inside and find their purpose, find their passion, find their light, and helping them to develop the pathway to help them get their light to come out, and help them to get on that path and take steps and plan and move forward. And so I fell in love with coaching, so I learned coaching, and then I developed a course to teach people what I knew. I needed to add things into the course. What the coaching that I learned was a little different than what I teach, because I had other things that I needed to add that I felt were really important part of the training. And anyway, now having trained over 6,000 people, the reason is because I get a lot of referrals, and people come back because they get such an impact just being in the class. So the great news about the class is that you get coached as well as you learn to coach. And so that's why there's so much breakthrough, and so many referrals come back and everything. So I want to just back up a little bit to in between all that. I did have 3 more children. So I'm a mother of 4. My son is 37. I have another son at 26, and my daughter is 24. And she graduated from San Diego State. So that's, know the area a little bit, because I did come down here quite frequently to visit her at school. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is that having 2 kids and then having 2 more kids with a second husband, the reason that happened for me is I also had to learn about relationships. And I found myself in controlling relationships, and here's the really hard thing for me to talk about, is I had to repeat. I had 2 children with a controlling man, ended up getting divorced, stayed single for 11 years, got married again, had 2 more children with another controlling man, and ended up leaving him. And that was a blessing. And here's the reason why there was such a blessing in that. When I was going through my divorce, my attorney goes, you know, I think you might be a little codependent. You might want to go to a 12-step program called Codependence Anonymous. I'm like, wow, what is that? It turned out to be my saving grace. I learned so much in those meetings. I stayed in them. I went every week for 4 years until I really got everything that I thought I could get out of it. And it helped me to put a solid foundation under my feet. It helped me to identify my values. It helped me to identify my principles and to know who I was and what cause I wanted to affect in the world. So I credit the 12-step program for a lot of my personal growth. And if you are suffering in that kind of thing, I highly recommend the 12 steps, because it's a spiritual program. It helps you find out what your truth is and how you can get aligned and walk in your truth. Okay, so I want to go to my slides then. So if you could take me to the second slide. One of the things that I would have benefited from when I was younger and when I was first starting out was knowing myself better, because I was lost. I was following along instead of leading. Instead of being true to myself, when I was talking to somebody and they'd say, hey, let's go do such and such, I'd go, yeah, and I'd go right along with them, even though it wasn't for my best or highest good, because I didn't have my own solid foundation. So I wanted to share with you how you can have a very solid foundation so that you are living your truth. And the ways to do that is to know your values, to know your principles, to know and have a mindset of yes, I can, and then to have and be congruent with all of those things in your actions. So next slide, please. The things that I think of as values are acceptance, learning acceptance of all people, right? Loving everyone, loving everything, loving everyone. And even if, and I was just talking with Sarla this morning, sharing about how we need to see ourselves in everything, even if it makes you uncomfortable, it's still part of you, right? It's still part of you. We are all connected, we are all one. We really are. If you hurt, I hurt. If you're in joy, I'm in joy. We're connected, okay? So love, joy, happiness, attitude, enthusiasm, right? Do you value confidence? Do you value humility? Do you value your authenticity? How can you be authentic if you don't know these things? You can't. You have to know who you are and what you value so that you can be authentic and in your truth. Gratitude, oh, and that's a big topic, right? Everybody's talked about gratitude. Being grateful and in gratitude for the things that we are receiving every day. I mean, I'm grateful for everything that occurs in my life, even what might have seemed like a difficult time. Raising 4 children as a single mom, tough. But you know, it's okay. It made me who I am today. Going through 2 divorces made me who I am today. It gave me this, it made me stronger, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm strong today because of my past and my experiences. Compassion, having compassion for others, and trust. Trust is so big because, you know, when things are happening and it doesn't feel right and you don't know why it's happening, and It might be because you're expanding in your personality. Things might be expanding around you and you're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're not sure. Trust is so important in that case. You need to trust that everything is in alignment with who you are and who you are going to be. And trust that what is coming to you is coming to you for your highest good. And sometimes it doesn't look like your highest good, but in the end, it will be for your highest good, because that's the way the universe operates. It helps us to grow, and it is responsive. The universe is responsive and responding to who we are being. So those are important. Tolerance, patience, forgiveness. These are all values. So what I'd like you to do right now is take a moment and write down 3 or 4 or 5 things on this list that you value. So what are we can consider these character traits, right? But fortune, is it money? Is it fame? Is it freedom? What is it that you value? Do you value being generous? Do you value giving back? What do you value? So take a minute and just write down 3 things that you identify with. What are the top 3 values for you? And then I'd like to hear what some of those things are. What are 1 or 2 of your top values?
My bride.
Yes, right? Your wife. Yeah, so your significant other, extremely valuable. Anybody else want to share what their, yes? Respect. Respect for yourself and others, right? Nice. Anybody else? Yes. Growth. Personal growth is so important. Continuing your education, growing in ways that you can, very important to keep and continue growing. Yes? Mindfulness, very important. Spirituality, being connected. Gratitude, being grateful, so important. Yes? Commitment, being committed to, and showing up. Oh, all right, so my favorite saying, or that I developed, is show up for God, and God will show up for you in miraculous ways. It happens all the time, right? So yes. Anybody else want to share? Yes. Spontaneity. Yes, I love spontaneity. That's being present in the moment and allowing, right? Yes. Love. Love. And for me, love encompasses all the other values, right? So it's a beautiful thing. Okay, now next slide, please. Knowing your principles. What do you stand for? So now here's something that's interesting. If you don't know what your principles are, you can get lost. You can get lost in life. So knowing your principles. So what is it that is really, how do you want to show up in the world? That's really the key. How do you want to show up in the world? Do you want to show up with your honesty, with your integrity, and be true to everything that you're talking about and you're speaking? So showing up and being true to yourself, very important. Having compassion, do you want to show up like that? Do you want to give back? Do you want to be of service? These are all things that you need to know so that when you show up and somebody says to you, hi, hey, how are you? What do you do? How can I help you? How can I serve? That you can say, well, here's what I'm really going for. And you need to know it. It needs to be in alignment. I call this in alignment with your values and your principles. So you want to be in alignment. All right, next slide, please. Mindset. Mindset is so important. If you aren't clear on your principles and your values, and you aren't working on your mind and your thoughts, we all know, I think in here, that your thoughts create your reality, right? I mean, pretty much what you're thinking is like the girl that shared yesterday about, she was thinking about having an accident, and sure enough, she did. Right? She did, because she kept thinking it and thinking it and thinking it, and she manifested it. Well, that can happen for us too. I know that I practiced and practiced and practiced when I first learned that your thoughts create your reality. At that time, I was still performing with the band, and I visualized myself doing a recording, and sure enough, we ended up doing a recording, and it just works. So I tested first. I said, well, if my thoughts create my reality, then I guess if I think about this, I can have that. And sure enough, things would just show up. I bought myself a custom-built home and all kinds of things, right? It just happened. It flowed because I was visualizing and focusing on it. And then, of course, I get in the big house, and I'm like, it's a thing. It's a thing. I don't need this big house. What did I do? It's all good though. Oh gosh. So another question is, what is your inspiration? What motivates you? What drives you, right? And what are your limiting beliefs? What is it that, and I don't know if we can know what our own limiting beliefs are. That's kind of a challenge. That's why I say, getting a coach or a mentor or somebody to help you to have some breakthroughs. It's easy because you have somebody that is listening to you, and you can say things that would normally roll out of your mouth. Okay, I have to give you an example. I was in teaching one of my coaching classes, and when I have an odd number of people, I become the client and the coach. And so we're in an exercise, and I said, well, one of the limiting beliefs that I have is that, I couldn't make money doing what I love, and she goes, aren't you doing what you love right now? And I went, yeah. And she goes, and aren't you making money doing this? And I went, well, yeah. And then she goes, well, in that case, there's your limiting belief. So I get the lessons too. I get the lessons. I teach, but I learn as much as I teach, so it's brilliant. Let's see. How engaged are you? How engaged are you in your life? So these are some questions that if you take them to heart and you can answer them from that inner place, it'll help you a lot to move forward. Next slide, please. The caged life. Okay, this is comfort zone. I tell a bit about comfort zone. Our comfort zone gets developed when we're kids, from the time we're 0 to we're 6. Everything that gets imprinted in our brain stays there. Then from the time we're 6 to we're 18, we start to learn new things. We start to have our own critical conscious mindset that gets in the way of new things. And so people that are living in the caged life are living back in, they haven't really explored, they haven't really examined, they haven't really gone inside. They're like a victim mentality. And I know no one in here is living that caged life, because to show up here, you have to be out of there. And the comfortable life, that's people that are just doing the do. They're not really wanting to grow. They're not focused on making change in their life. They just want to get up in the morning, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up in the morning, go to work, come home, and that's it. That's the comfortable life. None of us in here are on purpose for a comfortable life. We're all here to stretch, to grow, to give back, to be the best that we can be. That's why you're here. So I know that you are all here to live an extraordinary life. That means you need to find your optimism, right? You need to find your enthusiasm and find out what you're enthusiastic for. And knowing your values and your principles is going to bring that all together for you. Next slide. Here's some more things that you want to ask yourself. Are your actions in alignment with your values and your principles? How do your actions impact people, your family? I know how your actions impact your family. You rocket to a new country and get married again. It's awesome. So how do your actions, are they in alignment with your values and your principles? And as far as your personal growth, do your actions make you feel good? Do they give you more confidence? Do they help you stretch? Do they help you grow? Being in this room is a stretch. It certainly is. For me, I learned so much yesterday and got so much great information, and when I left, I felt like I was expanding out of my body. So it's great to be here in this room. Your heart, how about your heart? Are you in the right place for you to feel fulfilled from the inside out? That's what we're looking for. And finally, it's like, how do you show up? Do you commit? Do you show up? Are you on purpose? Are you on target? Those are all great questions for you guys to think about and really get some clarity and get some good answers to those. It'll really help you move forward. And what I want to close with is something that somebody in here started to talk about this yesterday. Our deepest fear is a quote from Marianne Williamson from her, I believe it's from her A Return to Love, which is reflections on the principles of A Course in Miracles. And I don't have it memorized, so I'm going to read it. But this is something that really speaks to my heart, and it feels as if this is my purpose. My purpose, I believe, here on the planet is to help people go inside, find their purpose, find their passion, find out who they are, help them establish their values and principles so that their actions can be congruent with their best, highest self. Okay? Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, to be gorgeous, to be talented, to be fabulous? Who am I? Actually, who are you not to be? Who are you not to be that fabulous, gorgeous, beautiful person that you are? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. So we need to step up. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you, which is, I know, I did that for a long time. We are all meant to shine light as our children do. We're all meant to shine. And we were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And this resonates so deeply with my soul. It's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. And it's up to those of us that are walking it, it's up to us to bring it out in the others that we are associated with, right? So as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give permission to other people to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you. Thank you. All right.